If you're checking her social media after the divorce, you're not healing at all. What you're doing is you're just reopening old wounds and doing it on purpose. Hi, I'm Scott, and I make these videos for other older men like myself who are going through a divorce or have just been through one, and hoping that they can use the experiences and the mistakes that I've made to help themselves recover and reclaim their lives again. Most men will tell themselves they're just curious when they're checking their ex's social media. But let me tell you, you're not just curious, you know, you're falling back in that whole old trap and allowing her to regain control on your life. You know, it feels like it's a little small little thing and, it shouldn't hurt, you know, because you think it's just a harmless little check. I'm just going to see what she's doing, just kind of see what she's posted. And just looking at her profile picture, but I'm not doing really anything else, you know. But let me tell you what that does. That resets you. Any movement forward that you made since your divorce or since your breakup and the divorce process, you've now reset it back to square one because you are just concentrating on her. All those little checks that you're doing on her social media does you no good. Because you know what? You're not moving forward. It's causing you to go back again. It's going back to day one. Our brains, um, you know, we're constantly looking kind of like for a fix. Okay. And our ex is kind of the drug. This is chemistry. It truly is because we were bonded to our ex, and your brain is used to updates on her life. And now you're looking for some kind of relief to get, what that update is. What is she doing? Who is she with? Everything like that. But what you're really getting is agitation out of it because that agitation is caused by just seeing her again, just understanding what she's been doing. And then you start reading into what it is. You start guessing. What does this mean? What does this post mean? Does this mean that she's moved on? Does she still thinking about me? Does she have a new man? What is her life like? All those little things that you're just speculating. You're just going into a tailspin trying to figure out what it means, and you're never going to be able to do that because it's social media. It takes that healing process and it turns it into a bunch of emotional spikes because sometimes you see, oh my God, she's posting something, she's by herself, means she's still single. You're just assuming that. And then the next photo, she's got a guy there. And then it spikes the other way. And you don't even know who that guy is. That could be a coworker from work at a work picnic, but you just start assuming everything. And that means all the pain that you were slowly letting go is coming back. You're just gathering it up again. You don't have any information. You can't ask yourself what you're hoping to find. You just know that you need to see something about her. Okay. You want to find out, is there proof that she misses you? Is there any sign that, she wants to get back with me, or is she struggling? You're looking for all those little confirmations that's going through your mind, but none of that helps you build your life back. It only feeds comparison, jealousy, false hope that you're going to get back together. That's not what you need. What you need right now is discipline, guys. Discipline not to lurk at her social media sites. Discipline not to be checking it 100 times a day. Discipline to know she has no power over you. There's no accidental likes that you do all of a sudden, when you're looking at her social media, hoping that she's going to look at that and go, oh my goodness, he's still thinking about me. Or you start looking into her stories that she posts and you decode it and you're like going through your minds, like, what does that mean? Does it mean that she cares about me? Does it mean that, she wants to get back? And the reality of it is, it means nothing. It means nothing because you don't know what it means. 99% of the time, it's innocent stuff. But our minds go 100 miles an hour. We're trying to put some reason into that post. That's why at this stage, it's even more detrimental to you by you looking at it because you have no clarity. Your mind is going in 100 different directions because of the divorce. And the constant exposure that you keep giving her posts and her social media sites is tearing you apart. So what do? Well, I'll tell you what you do. Unfollow her. If you don't have, first off, if you don't have the strength to not look, and I will tell you, I didn't during my first 2 months when we were going through divorce. I was constantly on that thing. I was constantly looking for any updates. I was constantly trying to read into any little bit of information I could find. Because I was just in a tailspin everywhere. I was couldn't sleep, couldn't think, couldn't do anything. And I wish someone had told me, just get away from it. I thought that was the cure, but it was making me more sick. So if you don't have the intestinal fortitude to stop doing that, unfollow her. Mute her if you have to. Block her if it's needed. It's not about something childish. That doesn't mean it's anything. What it is, you're trying to be strategic. You're trying to protect your mental stability. And by you checking on her all the time, it really just redirects your mental control into her mental control. Okay, she now controls you by what she posts online. She may not be doing it on purpose, but that's the result. She is controlling you. She's controlling your emotions. She's controlling your progress forward to get better. She's controlling everything about you. If she's allowed to do that, you don't have any power to get better physically, mentally. You don't have power to get your finances back in order. You're not going to have power over those daily routines that you need to do and directing your energy toward goals for yourself. You need to take that power and make sure that you control it. Okay? Because every time you check her profile, you delay your recovery, guys. Because healing requires space. It requires discipline to create freedom away from her so she is not in your life anymore. I know it's going to be hard, guys. I've been there, and it was incredibly hard because of the way we have laptops, iPads, our phone, always with us, and there's always that temptation to do it. But you got to have the power to break away from her. And I know you can do it. Guys, if you like this, I ask you just to leave a comment. Especially, I prefer, I would like a like or a subscription. But more important to me are comments. I've said this on every video. We learn from each other. There's more of you than me. You've got to give what your experiences are, and you need to let other people know the mistakes that you've made so they don't make them. And we lift each other up that way. And remember, guys, there is a life after wife. Until the next one.